This is the cost of blind trust. They tell you to trust the process, but the process was never built to protect you. I'm Casey Marks. I'm the founder of Crown Haven, Bull Baron, and Pinecone. I've spent 60,000 hours with real families who believed in this system, and they paid dearly for it. I've seen what happens more times than I can tell you about when advice turns into exploitation. I built my firms to make sure that that story never repeats within my walls or anybody that I train. And this is my effort to share all of this with you so it never happens to you or anybody that you care about. But this is one of those stories that I couldn't wait to tell. This isn't a market story, it's a human story. And this is happening every day. We are taught that financial advisor means protection. It doesn't. It can, but far too often it doesn't. Because the problem with lies isn't that they're hard to see, it's that they're wrapped in just enough truth to sound reasonable. And this is what happens when a lie meets the wrong person at the wrong time. I want to tell you about a woman that I know that is a current client of mine. And I'm going to tell you about the path that she took to find us. Now, she gave me permission to share her name, which I do in my book, but I'm not going to share it here. She was a healthcare worker. She grew up blue collar and turned that into a white coat. She built a better life for herself the hard way. She was a single mom with an autistic son. She had compassion that could fill a room, and life kept the hits coming. While she was still married, when her son was much younger, she discovered her own brother's stage 4 pancreatic cancer during a routine scan on a Saturday that she went in to do herself. Then she was diagnosed with a syndrome that left her paralyzed and in a coma after a workplace vaccine mandate. So imagine this, you're her parents. They're in the hospital caring for her son, watching one of their children die from stage 4 pancreatic cancer and another one of the children fight for their life. She survived, he didn't. The hospital quietly settled $100,000. Then she had a fantastic attorney out of Washington, D.C. that secured a $1 million judgment in her favor through the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. And finally, it looked like she could breathe. Now here's the setup. Her husband, who she'd been married to for 14 years by this time, found out about the settlement, and instead of protecting her or planning for their future, he called all the local divorce attorneys in their small town to find out how much he would get if he divorced her once the settlement came through. She found out about this and filed first. He dragged it all out. It cost her $40,000 in attorney fees. Gone. But still, she had her son, she had her health, and she had what was left of her million. And that's when the real predator showed up. Let's call this person an advisor, but he was nothing but a wolf in sheep's clothing. He operated in her small town. She found him through a family connection, much like my mother found her initial advisor, which is why I got into this in the first place. He had built a local reputation. He had a smiling photo on his website. He took every dollar, all million, and shoved every single cent into variable annuities. These were contracts with 3, 5, and 7-year crediting cycles. For those of you playing the home game, that means she's not going to get credited interest until at least 3 years. In some cases 5 years, in some cases 7 years. On top of that, she had massive surrender charges. She could not take her money out without getting penalized. She was paying for this privilege 3% in annual fees, $30,000 on her million. The only liquidity she had was a 10% free withdrawal annually, $100,000 she could take out. But because she wasn't 59 and a half yet, and any annuity becomes a qualified investment contract, or just qualified account for that matter from a tax perspective. Any withdrawal she took, even if it was a free withdrawal, she was getting a 10% penalty for taking the withdrawals per IRS guidelines. It'd be like taking money out of your IRA before you're 59 and a half. So she was disabled, she was dependent, she was raising a child with special needs, and this advisor locked her money up in an account that would not credit her interest for at least 3 years, that was charging her 3%, that if she took a withdrawal from, she would get charged 10%. To do what? To make his 6% commission, 7% commission? Here's the math on this. We haven't even talked about inflation yet. 105-year average of inflation is 3.1%. So a 3% annual fee, plus let's just say 3% inflation, equals 6% guaranteed erosion to the portfolio every year. On $1 million, that is $60,000 burned annually, $180,000 burned in 3 years, assuming she doesn't take any withdrawals, which she would get penalized 10% for. And this is all before she earned a single dollar in interest. That's not protection, that's systematic decay, disguised as safety. And then, to make matters worse, because she had greater income needs than just 10%, that she was already getting penalized 10% on, even if she stayed within that range, because the advisor, quote unquote, never managed or bothered to ask what her real income needs were, being, like on disability and raising a son and all. Well, when she needed cash beyond that 10% free withdrawal, she was hit with surrender penalties and taxes. So her after-tax settlement became a penalized retirement plan. He told her she was safe. He lied. He buried the truth in paperwork. Plausible deniability. And when it all started to unravel, he offered to fix it by doing what? Rolling her into a brand new set of annuities. Another commission, another cage. Here's the aftermath of all this. By the time she found me, she wasn't angry. She was hollow. She was destroyed. Her story wasn't just financial mismanagement, it was spiritual theft. This was a woman who had survived hell, and the first person she trusted afterwards stole her peace. That's not incompetence. That's predatory. She's not alone. This is systemic. This is not a one-off headline, folks. It's a pattern. I've seen it more times than I can count. Widows are pressured to roll over life insurance benefits. Women are told that they are safe while paying 3% fees on bond-heavy portfolios or variable annuities. People with disabilities are locked into illiquid products they can't access. Grieving families are handed glossy binders and empty promises by somebody with a good smile. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, entrepreneurs, brilliant people that think they're too smart to get taken. People just trying to feel safe. It's happening every day. Nobody's going to prison. Because what these folks are doing isn't always illegal. It's just immoral. The industry hides behind the paperwork. Signatures, suitability forms, disclosure in fine print. They don't need to act in your best interest. Just an interest that's not unreasonable. That's the loophole. That's the trap. And the people who pay for it? Everybody. The vulnerable, the grieving, the trusting, the intelligent, hardworking people of America, the C-suite executives, the frickin' people at high levels of government that I've worked with. No one's immune to this. The ones that believe kindness still counts. I would rather somebody hate me, but love the data I'm showing them and how it relates back to what they're trying to do. Here's the lesson in all this. Abuse doesn't always look like theft. Sometimes it looks like a handshake, a smile, and a signature. And if you've ever been hurt by this system, you are not crazy. You are not alone, and it is not your fault. But moving forward, it is your responsibility to learn, to question, to protect what's yours, to help others that you care about protect what's theirs, because no one else is coming to save you. Write this down. Never invest more than 50% of your liquid net worth in illiquid or surrender-based products. That's annuities, real estate investment trusts, private equity, you name it. Demand written access across schedules, liquidity percentages, fees, surrender end dates, you name it. Require fee disclosure in dollar terms, not percentages. Verify licenses and disciplinary history at FINRA or advisorinfo.sec.gov. Insist on a liquidity reserve outside any annuity or AUM platform. Require second opinions on all proposals from a fiduciary unaffiliated with the product being presented. And keep one trusted third party, attorney or CPA, copied on every transfer form. Not all stories are happy ones. If this story made you sick, it should. Until we stop treating predation as business as usual, it will keep happening. So share this with someone who trusts too easily, the widow, the caregiver, the overwhelmed parent. For all the stories that I can't fit into a YouTube series, get my book Inheritance and subscribe for the truth that they do not want you to hear, because silence protects the guilty and truth protects you.